In this 25th anniversary year of September 11th, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation continues to honor America's heroes. Heroes like Fire Lieutenant Michael Wells, who was inspired by 9/11 to serve his community. After 14 dedicated years of service, he lost his battle with occupational cancer, leaving behind his wife, Katie, and their 3 children. Tunnel to Towers honored Lieutenant Wells by paying off the family's mortgage in recognition of his sacrifices. Donate $11 monthly and amplify your impact with a car or land donation. Go to T2T.org.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi! Okay, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Of the incident not far from this great building that sought to harm the leadership of your nation and to foment wider fear and discord. Let me say with unshakable resolve, such acts of violence will never succeed.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, there you have it. Something funny happened this afternoon, my friends.
Whatever disagreements we may have, we stand united in our commitment to uphold democracy, to protect all our people from harm, and to salute the courage of those who daily risk their lives in the service of our countries.
Including ICE agents.
Standing here today, it is hard not to feel the weight of history on my shoulder.
Law history there, right? That's right. Something very odd happened this afternoon. Very odd, indeed. Here you had the No Kings crowd on the left side of the chamber. That would be the Democrats, for those of you watching on television. So the No Kings crowd was on the left side of the chamber today when the King and Queen strode in. And wouldn't you know it, the No Kings crowd said bollocks to all that. They jumped up on their feet every time they could and decided to give little pecks of love to the backside of the King. All of a sudden, the No Kings crowd was all in favor of the King. They were respectful. They were listening with apt attention. And they were loving it, being in the presence of the King. Well, I said to myself, something's going on here. What is going on here? These people don't want a king. And yet, not only did he talk about his kingship, he went all the way back. He talked about his 5 times great-grandfather, mentioned Charles Dickens, and how Washington was a tale of 2 Georges, by George. And Democrats, the No Kings people, sat there with rapt attention. They were so quiet. They didn't shout out things like, "Oh, you're a liar," when he praised law enforcement for protecting the Commonwealth of peoples. They didn't jump on their feet and start talking about no ICE, no border patrol, no one respects these people. Now, they stood up and they applauded the King. Now, there is a picture, ladies and gentlemen, that is circulating from the White House. It is of King Charles standing next to Donald Trump. And the caption underneath it simply says, "Two Kings." Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. I must tell you, I loved the speech. A lot of it's pablum, but, and so I'm not talking about the content. Yeah, it was nice. It was all hunky-dory. We're best buds. We've always been best buds. We'll always be best buds. We're mates. We were mates even before you people decided you wanted independence from us. I thought it was a very interesting part, by the way, that he talked about no taxation without representation as the rift, making a point that at the time, British law was no taxation without representation. It was a very interesting speech from a historical standpoint. But the thing that I loved most about the speech continues to be something that doesn't have necessarily to do with the content, but the expression of the speech, in that I love hearing the English language spoken. And King Charles did a bang-up job with that. King Charles, yeah. Of course, we could go back in history, because another Charles, you may remember, some of those of you that study British history, King Charles I lost his head, so to speak, when the rebels over there didn't like him. Anyway, great speech. Congress was on their best behavior. They didn't boo the king. They didn't give him any cat calls or anything like that. We've got other stuff to talk about today, and we shall get to it. One of the best takedowns I ever heard, speaking of Congress, happened at a hearing featuring New York's purple-head Rosa DeLauro with another New York figure, Lee Zeldin. It was truly remarkable, because what it exposed, ladies and gentlemen, yes, oh, I know, Kimmel, FCC supposedly asking ABC for a review of 8 of their stations, so that has pushed probably a panic button. Yeah, they're going to review. They're saying it's over diversity, equity, DEI stuff, but they're going to review the ABC stations in light of Kimmel's horrific, ugly remarks the other night. Yeah, we got that. We have some indictments. Comey indicted again. Yes. Fauci's guy also indicted. Former advisor David Morin to Dr. Fauci indicted. So we have that. We still have some fallout from the White House Correspondents' Dinner the other night. We've got, as I like to pull up, quotes or clips, packages as they were, from news outlets around the country on various and sundry things. But the takedown, beautiful. Members of Congress who are charged with not only writing the laws but understanding the laws. Let's put on parade the jewel of ignorance that is one of New York City delegation, New York State's delegation, senior most Congresswoman Rosa DeLauro, she of the purple hair fame, with EPA head Lee Zeldin today.
When climate change is flooding our streets, poisoning our air, driving up healthcare and disaster costs, how can the EPA justify abandoning that duty to protect Americans to appease polluters under the false flag of economic growth?
Following the law, Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, where does it say anything about fighting global climate change? Loper-Bright, Supreme Court case, familiar with it?
No, I maybe others are. I'm not, but let me ask.
But that's really important. As a member of Congress, Loper-Bright says that we, as an agency, don't have the authority to get creative. If Section 202 of the Clean Air Act,
no, but you don't have. Excuse me. You do not have the right to say climate change does not exist, that it's a hox, and that's where this administration is coming from.
I understand you're upset that you don't know what Loper-Bright is. Do you know what the major policies doctrine is?
I'm upset because
you know what the major policies doctrine is.
You know what, let me just.
You're a member of Congress. You should know.
Well, you have moved from someone who defended the environment to all of a sudden
being very defensive about not knowing the 2 biggest landmark Supreme Court cases of the last year with regards to your question.
You are very defensive about changing your policy and your positions with regard to the environment.
Okay.
Now, you just tell me.
You want me to tell you what the 2 biggest Supreme Court cases are of the last few years?
This is what I want you to tell me.
Michigan versus EPA.
Whoa.
West Virginia versus EPA.
You know, you're here because you need money from us. So halt for the second. and wait for the questions and answer the questions.
Well, I answered your question,
no, you
and
didn't.
you didn't like my answer because you don't know what Loper Bright is, because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is,
Chairman,
because you're asking me about Section 202 of the Clean Air Act, and you don't read it. You don't know what it says.
Listen, and what you want to do is to deny. No,
I actually read the law. I do my homework.
Really?
You're just somebody who likes to have the microphone on. You know what I have to do? I read the law. I read the Supreme Court cases.
This, and I would say
no. What you should do for your constituents is actually read statute.
The budget is at real risk.
Read your Supreme Court.
This is the Appropriations Committee.
Oh, you care about science? Now you're threatening to defund it?
Oh my God! No, you don't fund
because
science.
You don't know what Loper Bright is. Because you don't know what the major policies doctrine is. Your message to our folks at the EPA is that you want to defund us.
I don't have to listen to this BS.
The BS. You think I made up these cases?
Yeah, I think you have made up
I made up Loper Bright. I made up West Virginia versus EPA. I made up Michigan versus EPA.
Whoa is right.
Whoa.
What are you doing? Why are you helping the looters?
Whoa. Damn it. Whoa. Stop embarrassing her. Yes, I mean, of course we have a member of... She doesn't know what the laws are. All she has is slogans. When climate change is flowing down on the streets and the climate change is flowing onto the streets and you people are cutting off, changing your policies, you're saying that it's a hoax, even though we told you first it was going to be a global ice age, and then we said, no, it's going to be global warming. And then after we got a few $1 trillion off of that, and it wasn't working no more, we said it's going to be climate change, so we could just say the climate's doing it. But, well, here's the law, ma'am. But, you know it. Now, no, I don't know it, but I do now. I mean, give me a break. She's a congresswoman. She's one of the senior congresswomen. She doesn't understand the EPA statutes. She doesn't understand the Supreme Court. Now, James, do you understand? Nope, I don't. I never heard of damn Loper Bright until today. But I'm not in Congress writing the laws. And I don't read Supreme Court decisions either. I don't even read half the stuff that most have. I don't even read 99.99999% of the stuff that comes out of Congress because I don't understand it. I don't know whether any of you have ever tried to read the legislation that comes out of that place. I have tried. I give up on it because I'm not a warrior. And there are so many citations to back things, and the wording on it is so ridiculous. Unless you're a lawyer and you understand it. It's another language. But she is supposedly a legislator. This is her job. And she doesn't understand any of it. Doesn't know it. But yet, she knows all the slogans. And you want to define climate change. We spent trillions on climate change globally. We got fancy windmills that are killing whales and birds. We have solar power. And you know what all of that did after all of these trillions of dollars spent? It contributes 2% of the energy. It cannot do. And then when you talk to people about the electric car, especially if you talk to lefties, before Elon Musk got unpopular, they used to love their little Teslas. And then I remember talking with a young lady, environmentalist girl, and I said, how do you charge those things? How are you plugging in to the thing in your garage or your thing? Where does the power come from? It comes from a power plant that is fueled by fossil fuel. That's where it comes from. Where does electricity come from to power your green car? It comes from fossil fuel. The whole thing is a scam and has been a scam. And this was a beautiful takedown. We got to take a break.
The playoffs are here, and you can predict the action all the way to the finals with FanDuel Predicts. Predict the spread, the total points, and even the game-winning moments that make the playoffs. Sign up and get a $25 bonus with FanDuel Predicts.
Offered by FanDuel Prediction Markets, LLC, a registered futures commission merchant. 18 plus bonus is non-withdrawable and expires 7 days after receipt. Trading derivatives involves significant risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Manage your activity with their consumer protection tools. Restrictions apply. See terms at FanDuel.com/predicts/bonus-offer-terms.